Try to remember being 5 years old, not a fact about it. An actual memory, a moment. You might get a flash, a kitchen, a birthday candle, a dog you had. But notice what's missing, the story around it. What happened right before? What happened 5 minutes after? Who else was in the room? Most of that year is just gone, except for a handful of random, disconnected snapshots. This isn't the same blank you'd get asking about age 1. You weren't a blank slate at 5. You could talk, you had friends, you had a favorite show, you definitely had a full year of Tuesdays. So where did all of it go? Last time, we promised something stranger than simple forgetting, that the memories you do have from childhood aren't recordings at all. They're stories your brain quietly rewrites every time you tell them. Today, we're opening that file. By age 3 or 4, your memory system is basically online. You're not the blank slate infant anymore. So why does so little of ages 3 to 7 actually stick? Psychologist Patricia Bauer at Emory University has spent decades tracking exactly this. In one of her key studies, she interviewed young children about specific personal events shortly after they happened, then went back and asked the same children about the same events years later. The results showed something surprising. Young children don't fail to form memories of their days. In the short term, their recall is often just as detailed as an adult's. What's different is the speed at which those memories decay afterward. Bauer's data showed that children between roughly ages 3 and 7 forget specific personal events at a dramatically faster rate than adults do, losing access to memories within a year or two that an adult would likely still hold on to a decade later. In other words, the memories weren't too weak to form. They were formed just fine, and then they evaporated on a much faster timeline than anything you'd experience today. Childhood isn't a blank recording. It's a recording on a much shorter tape, constantly being taped over. What makes Bauer's findings so strange is how invisible this process is while it's happening. Nobody warns a 5-year-old that this Tuesday is about to disappear forever within 18 months. There's no sensation of a memory dissolving. It's just quietly not there anymore the next time you go looking for it. And by the time you're old enough to notice the gap, you have no way of knowing what exactly used to fill it. This also explains something that trips a lot of people up: why your memories of being 7 feel so much more solid than your memories of being 4, even though both should theoretically be recent from a 5-year-old's perspective. The forgetting curve doesn't wait politely until childhood ends. It's running the entire time, chewing through last month's memories almost as fast as they're made, which means by the time you're 7, most of what 4-year-old you actually experienced has already been quietly deleted, years before adulthood even starts asking questions about it. If almost everything fades at that speed, why do a handful of memories from that same window survive into adulthood at all? It turns out which memories make it isn't random. Developmental psychologists Fivush and Reese spent years studying something called parental reminiscing style. Essentially, how parents talk to kids about things that already happened. They found that some parents use what's called an elaborative style. After an event, they ask lots of open questions and add rich detail. Remember the beach? What did we see first? Do you remember how cold the water was? Other parents use a much more minimal style, briefly confirming an event happened without building it into a story. Fivush and Reese found that children of elaborative parents held on to significantly more of their early memories years later, compared to children whose parents rarely revisited events in detail. The act of retelling a memory out loud, with someone else, appeared to be what saved it from the fast decay curve Bauer had documented. A memory that never gets talked about is a memory with nothing holding it in place. A memory that gets retold again and again around a dinner table gets reinforced every single time, which sounds reassuring until you find out what retelling actually does to it. There's an uncomfortable flip side to Fivush and Reese's finding, too. It means the memories that made it into your adult mind weren't necessarily the most important ones. They were the ones your family happened to enjoy retelling. A minor, funny mishap at a birthday party might survive for decades simply because it made a good story at dinner, while a genuinely significant day, one nobody thought to narrate out loud, vanishes completely. Your childhood, as you remember it now,
isn't a highlight reel your brain curated by importance. It's closer to a highlight reel your family curated by what was fun to talk about.
Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. The memories that survive by being retold aren't preserved untouched. They're altered a little every single time.
In 2000, neuroscientist Karim Nader ran an experiment on rats that overturned a basic assumption about how memory works. Scientists had long believed that once a memory was consolidated, locked into long-term storage, it stayed fixed and stable. Nader trained rats to fear a specific sound, let the fear memory fully consolidate, then briefly reactivated that memory by playing the sound again, and immediately gave the rats a drug that blocks memory formation. If the old theory was right, this shouldn't have mattered. The memory was already saved. Instead, the fear memory was wiped out. The act of simply recalling it had made it vulnerable again, as if retrieving a file had reopened it for editing. Nader called this reconsolidation, and follow-up research on humans found the same pattern. Every time you retrieve a memory, your brain briefly treats it as unstable and resaves it, sometimes with small distortions, details borrowed from later conversations, photos, or other memories, quietly blended in. This means the family stories that kept your childhood memories alive were also the exact mechanism editing them. Every retelling around that dinner table wasn't playing back a recording. It was opening the file and saving over it again, a little differently each time. Follow-up studies on human subjects have shown this isn't a rare glitch. It's the default. Every act of remembering is, on some level, an act of rewriting. Small details drift. A memory of your father telling the story can slowly absorb details from a photograph you saw of the same event years later, until you can no longer tell which parts you actually witnessed and which parts you quietly borrowed from a picture. Nobody notices this happening in real time, because each individual edit is small. It's only across 20 or 30 years of retellings that the gap between what happened and what you remember becomes wide enough to matter.
So here's what actually happened to ages 3 through 7. Your brain formed those memories just fine in the moment. Bauer's research shows the encoding wasn't the problem, but most of them decayed within a year or two, on a forgetting curve far faster than anything you experience as an adult. The few that survived did so because someone talked about them with you. Fivush and Reese's elaborative parents, unknowingly, were the ones keeping certain memories alive at all. But every single time that memory got revisited, Nader's research shows it briefly became unstable again and got resaved with small, invisible edits. The birthday you remember isn't the birthday that happened. It's the 20th draft of it, reconsolidated a little differently every time someone said, "Remember when?" Not a lie exactly. Just a photograph that's been copied so many times, the copy is now the only version left. There's something strangely comforting hidden in this, if you look at it the right way. It means your childhood isn't a fixed archive sitting untouched in the back of your mind, slowly gathering dust. It's a living document, still being lightly edited by every conversation you have about it for the rest of your life. The version of your 5th birthday you'll remember at 80 years old hasn't been written yet. In a very real sense, you're still writing your childhood, one retelling at a time. Next time, we're looking at why you fall for the exact same magic trick twice, even after someone shows you how it works, and what that says about how much of what you see is really just what your brain expects to see. If you're ready to debug your life and reclaim your mind, hit that subscribe button. Every video, we uncover a new hidden code in the things you use, the thoughts you have, and the world you think you know. Until then, keep questioning the code.